feet down, that's cold. Well, thank you for braving the cold. In Florida, that's something. Okay. We're approaching the end of Isaiah fairly quickly. We've got about 10 chapters left, and we're out of it. So if you guys give any thought to what you might want to study next and suggest something to Doug or I have an idea, but sometimes better ideas don't come from me. So, we are in chapter 55. We may do 55 and 56 today, I hope. If not, I'll leave something for Doug. I don't like to run out, so I always have more than I need. So, the free offer of mercy. Merci. Ho! I like that kind of ho down. Ho! Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. And Doug touched on this last week, and I was going to go after it a little bit more. And you who have no money, silver, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why do you spend money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good and delight yourself in abundance. So this is a new chapter, and you really need to ground yourself into where he's going with this particular chapter. What is he talking about? So, what food and drink is Isaiah referring to here? Is it a physical? Is it a spiritual? And somebody who can't make a decision says, well, it's both.
I would say spiritual because it's without money and without cost.
Yeah, it's without money, without cost. Somebody else paid for it. It's going to be, somebody's going to have to pay for it, but you don't have to pay for it, which ought to be a good indicator of what this chapter is grounded in as far as the whole discussion. What water is Isaiah referring to?
Living water.
Living water, yeah. Here in John, this is where he's talking to the woman at the well. And all the way through here, she says, give me a drink. Would you have asked him? And he would have given you living water. And she says, oh, living water, give me that. He says, are you greater than our father Jacob? And you get down to verse 13. Jesus answered and said to her, everyone who drinks of this water, which is the water in the well, will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him never shall thirst, but the water that I will give him will become in him a well of water springing up to eternal life. So, did she figure out what he was talking about? Not really. She still thought he was talking about physical water and that you'd never get thirsty again. So what milk is Isaiah talking about? How about this one out of Hebrews? And it's actually in a whole bunch of spots. I just picked one. Concerning him, we have much to say. It's hard to explain since you have become dull of hearing. For, though by this time, because of the time, you ought to be teachers, you need again to teach someone the elementary principles of the oracles of God. You have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. So this is for people that are just going to start getting introduced into Christianity. That living water. Where do you get that living water?
I'm sorry.
When do you get that living water? Isn't that when you become a Christian?
Baptism.
Yeah, it's when you become a Christian. That's when you get that word inside of you. That's when the Spirit gets inside of you. But you're new. So what are you going to be on? Milk. Right? So what is the milk indicative of regarding those who become Christians? What's the milk? It's the basic stuff. It's the gospel. It's understanding Christ died, was buried, resurrected. It's the very basic stuff, okay? And that's what Paul was, well, a Hebrews writer. Paul talks about it too, but this Hebrew writer talks about here is to say, hey, you long enough, you've been around. You don't need to keep going over the basic stuff over and over again. You need to get into more advanced stuff. What bread is Isaiah referring to?
Bread of life.
The bread of life. In John, a lot of references I have in John. So they said to him, what then do you do for a sign so that we may see and believe you? So this is in 6. This is early in his ministry, but it's like, okay, do something, do a trick for us, and then we'll believe you. Our fathers ate manna in the wilderness, as written. He gave them bread out of the heaven to eat. Jesus then said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread out of heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread out of heaven. So he corrects him. He says, no, Moses didn't give him the bread. God gave him the bread. For the bread of God, in that which comes down out of heaven and gives life to the world, then they said to him, Lord, always give us this bread. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. So it kind of ties them up together in this particular one where he talks about the hunger and the thirst. How do we consume the bread? You study, you share, you teach, you live it. You know, it's got to go from being intellectual to being how you center your life, right? Satan knew the scriptures, right? But it wasn't his life. It wasn't centered in his life. It was intellectual to Satan. So, and if I put the verse up again, I put it in yellow so it reminds me. So it's the same verse. How is it that this water, wine, milk, and free, who actually paid for it and how? Christ paid for it, yeah. He paid the price. We are the benefactors, but he paid the price for us to have all that bread and water and everything else. Incline your ear and come to me. Listen, that you, your soul, may live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, according to the faithful mercies of David shown to David. Behold, I have made him a witness to the peoples, a leader and a commander for the peoples. Behold, you will call a nation you do not know, and a nation which knows you not will run to you, because of the Lord God, even the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you. So what covenant is God will make to those Isaiah is addressing here, have in common with the mercies shown to David? Because it says according to. Let's stick something in here. What did he do with David? David was explained as, or portrayed as a man after God's own heart. How much did he do wrong?
Killed a man, slipped a guy's wife.
Yeah. It was Uriah. He sent Uriah in to be killed, who was Bathsheba's husband. He made mistakes. But the mercy shown to David was he was forgiven. God loved him. God blessed him. Okay? That covenant that we're going to have, an everlasting covenant we have, same kind of covenant. We make mistakes all the time. And God forgives us. Who will be made a witness to the people, and what will he witness? What does a witness do? Excuse me? Yeah, witness tells the story. He brings the truth. He's supposed to bring the truth. That ought to be a tip-off if he brings the truth. Got to be Christ. Here in John, my children, I am writing these things to you so that you may not sin. And if anyone sins, he has an advocate, one called alongside, or intercessor with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. And he himself is the propitiation for our sins, not only for ours only, but also for those of the whole world. So this is really early in his ministry, isn't it? It's 1 John. No, this is John writing about Christ. What does it mean to be an advocate? Someone who speaks for you on your benefit. You know, somebody who speaks for you can speak bad things for you, but an advocate is somebody who speaks for you and says, what's good about this person, and like that. I also pulled this one out. So when they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love, agapo, me more than these? And he said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love, phileo, you. So what are these two forms of love that are here? What's phileo? Brotherly love. Think of Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, okay? There's 4 that I know. I was talking to Mike Shoemate, and he said there's actually 7, but I only know 4 of them. There's storge, there's eros, there's phileo, and there's agape. And agapo and agape are the same thing. What's agapo? It's agape. It's love that you'll do anything for that person. You know, brotherly love is at one level, but agape is normally held at a higher level, a strong level, a better, more giving, sacrificing type of love than phileo is. And storge is a love within a family. And everybody knows what eros is. Okay, so you have this call of prayer. But my point I was making on this, he said to him, tend my lambs. And then later on in verse 16, he says, my sheep. And later he says, tend my sheep. What's he saying? They're mine. When he talks to the Father, what does he say to the Father? They're mine. I'm here for them. They belong to me. And he witnesses to who? The Father. They're mine. Okay. Revelation, John to the 7 churches that are in Asia. Grace to you and peace from him who is and was and who is to come, and from the 7 spirits who are before his throne, in Jesus Christ, the faithful witness, the firstborn of the dead, the ruler of the kings of the earth, to him who loves us and released us from our sins by his blood. So that one kind of ties it up to say, who's that witness? That witness is Christ. And you can see, he's a leader and commander for the peoples. Where's he leading and commanding from? I don't think I asked that. The right hand of God. Right? That's where he reigns in his kingdom. Who's the nation that will be called? The rest of the world. The Gentiles. All those people who right now, the only one the Jews are still thinking is just the Jews. And he says, no, it's going to be a nation you don't know. They're going to come to you. And who was the one who actually reached out to all those nations? Paul. I always thought that was interesting. He was the apostle to the Gentiles. That was his mission. So you had 12 apostles, right? Actually, by the time Paul joined, I don't know how many you had. But you had a large group that was to a small group, which is the Jews, and you had one guy to everybody else in the world. I always thought that was kind of funny. But John, and he talks about it. When Christ is talking to them, as John recorded, he says, I have other sheep which are not of this fold. So he told them. Did the disciples at this point figure it out? No. Who figured it out, and when did he figure it out? Peter. With Cornelius. It was well into the establishment of the church after Pentecost that Peter said, oh, no, Lord, I'm not going to eat any of that. But he finally figured it out when he went down there to Cornelius. So that's the nation. I'm doing pretty good this morning. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return to the Lord, and he will have compassion on him. And to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. So what does it mean, seek the Lord while he can be found?
Wouldn't that be anything prior to the judgment day?
It could be. It could be seek him while he can be found, call him while he is near. I kind of went to this one in John. The crowd answered him. This is in John 12, so it's kind of midway through his 3 years. We have heard of the law that the Christ is to remain forever. And how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man? So Jesus said to them, for a little while longer the light is among you. Walk while you have the light, so the darkness will not overtake you. He who walks in the darkness does not know where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become sons of light. I'm not sure whether he was talking about here, but when he was near was when he was here. Is he near now? Can we see him, touch him, talk to him? He's not near. But during that 3 years, he was near. So, and found. Remember when he said, I'm going somewhere where you can't go? This is, we want to find you. Where are you going? He says, you can't go where I'm going. Not right now. So you can kind of see how this is all couched in the establishment of the church in this chapter.
Can we also say, seeking the Lord while he's near?
No, because at death we cannot seek him.
Until then, yeah. Until we're in
So we have
paradise.
all the time now. He's near to us now. We have all the time now to seek him. But once we die, that's the end of it.
Yep. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. How are our thoughts different than God's thoughts? We can spend the rest of the class on this one.
His thoughts are perfect.
His thoughts are perfect. Whereas our thoughts are
Lowly in heaven.
not always perfect. Okay. What are our thoughts center on most of the time?
Ourselves.
Perfect. What'd you say?
Ourselves.
Ourselves, to some extent, yeah. Okay, ourselves. earthly things, physical things here. Okay? Particularly if you're doing things like I haven't done in a few weeks, but passing kidney stones. Your thoughts are on one particular thing. This hurts. Okay. What are God's thoughts focused on?
God's thought exceeds all human imagination.
On what?
So God's thoughts exceeds all human imagination.
That's true. His thoughts exceed our human imagination. And his thoughts are on us. His thoughts are on the eternal world, the spiritual world, the timeless world, where ours is on the temporal world. So you can, but that's the world he exists in. He actually exists in both worlds. We exist in this world. And we've got glimpses of what it's supposed to be like. You look at what's in Revelation, and you've got some ideas of what it looks like, but are literally the streets of clear gold? I don't know. But he's trying to explain it in such a way that you understand that those things that we hold very high materially in this world are just building materials, okay? It's so good there that stuff that we think is so incredibly expensive and precious, it's like gravel on the ground. Just trying to give us an idea of to say just how much better it is there than it is here. How does God contrast our thoughts to his, and what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean when he contrasts our thoughts to his?
Well, he's comparing heaven and earth.
He's comparing heaven and earth, eternity versus a limited time.
And our thoughts are earthly, his are.
His are heavenly, ours are earthly. Isn't he trying to say, you need to trust me? If you're trying to work this out with your own logic, you need to trust me, because I'm going to make it work. However mankind works, I'm going to make it work. I mean, you look at how the lineage of Christ worked through, okay? Ruth lost her husband, right? She came back. She got married to Joaz. I mean, it was terrible the way she lost her husband. And her husband's brother died, and then her husband's father died, and Naomi was left, and Ruth took care of her. Now the other daughter-in-law went off, but Ruth took care of her. But you could kind of see how that all happened. It's like somebody would looked at the time that it was happening. It was happening where? She was a Moabite. So he used a Moabite in the lineage of the Messiah. Again, you don't think it's going to work out? It's going to work out. Trust me. Okay.
People that really study and understand stuff, maybe in 3 or 4 years they'll say, if Titusville didn't have that freeze that weekend, it would be all different.
Yeah.
Because this wouldn't die, that did die, this, it's interesting to find out.
It's interesting to see, because we look, more than ever, we're an immediate kind of people. I want immediate this, I want immediate that. We're looking for it to really happen quickly. And with God, days are like 1,000 years, okay? It may not come for a while. I remember when I prayed, and I said, I hope I can keep my job. I hope I can keep working. And the stuff I kept picking up was working on proposals. I'm an engineer. Engineers don't normally like to work on proposals at all, okay? Let me do my engineering, let me do the design, let me do my test, but don't make me write. And write in a way that I don't know how to write. But I got a lot of that before I retired. I said, okay, I I strung that one out and I was able to retire. Well, I was praying to God to say, give me something that keep going. And he did. Because for the last 8 years, that's what I've done. And I've been very successful at it. But if you ask me when I started praying, that's not what I thought I was going to get at all. I thought I was going to get another good engineering job, that I was going to develop stuff and like that. And that's not what happened. And looking back in hindsight, I can see that. But at the time I was living through it, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Okay. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and do not return there without watering the earth and making it bear and sprout, and furnishing seed to the sower and bread to the eater. What processes is Isaiah explaining, now called by modern science? He just explained a process. Remember the water cycle? When you were in probably junior high, you had the water coming down, and then it came up, and it came up through evaporation and transpiration and evaporation, and it returned. Isaiah just explained that process. Hundreds, maybe even a couple thousand years before our scientists said, this is the water cycle. So will my word be which goes forth from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, without accomplishing what I desire, and without succeeding in the matter for which I sent it. So you look at that water cycle, what does it do in between? What does it do when it comes down? What happens when we have a drought? Things die. Things don't grow. So Isaiah's making the point in verse 10 to say, understand, he sends the water, makes everything grow. It nourishes everything. It causes life. He says, that's physical. He's explained it from the physical to explain the spiritual, to say, my word, and who's his word? In the beginning, it's Jesus. So his word goes forth from his mouth. It won't return to him empty. When did he leave? When he became the Son of Man. When he came here. He came down out of heaven. What did he do? What does the water do when it comes down? Brings life. What did he do when he came down? He brought life. Did he accomplish what he desired? Did he accomplish what the Father desired? He said, let this cup pass from me, but if not, I'll do your will, not mine. His desire was to be crushed and nailed on a tree and then be resurrected. So he planted the church. And then he returned back up to heaven. He used the physical water cycle to explain exactly what he's going to do with Christ. It's the spiritual cycle. I guess you could call it spiritual cycle. That's what I just explained. So, for you will go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth into shouts of joy before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush, the cypress will come up. And instead of the nestle, the myrtle will come up. And it, the transformation of the desert, will be a memorial for the Lord, for an everlasting sign which will not be cut off. When the followers of Christ go out with joy, When did the followers of Christ go out with joy and led in peace? Be led in peace. Or with peace. That's kind of an easy one. Pentecost. Right? That's when they went out. That's when they started. They didn't get it until then. He told them, he says, stick around. Stay in Jerusalem. Spirit's going to come to you. He didn't tell them a whole lot beyond that, did he? He said, stay here. It's going to happen. He went through in John and had a big part where he discussed it. He says, I got to go, but I have to go in order to send the helper. When a helper comes, the helper is going to do all kinds of things for you. But the helper won't come unless I go. So he goes through it. He had a long discussion with them to talk about it. I'm sure they're looking at him going, what are you talking about? And they didn't get it until the day of Pentecost. They all continued in amazement and great perplexity, saying to one another, what does this mean? This was talking about when the Spirit came on them, and it looked like a tongue over their head. But others were mocking them, saying, they are full of sweet or new wine. But Peter, taking his stand, being put forward as spokesman, with the 11, raised his voice and declared to them, men of Judea, and all you who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and give heed to my words. For these men are not drunk, as you suppose, for it is only the 3rd, or 9 o'clock in the morning. But this is what was spoken of through the prophet Joel. So he's going to go into his long discussion that brings him up to Acts 2:38. To say, here's all of the history in a very short, compact time that he explains it. He says, and they go, oh, it makes sense. But it's interesting, Peter's the one who speaks up. What was Peter's profession? He's a fisherman. How educated was he? He wasn't. Not sure how well he could read. But he had some ability to write because we have 1st and 2nd Peter. But here's someone who denied Christ 3 times before he finally came around, who was always speaking up. And so you can see that personality still coming through with Peter. Remember when Peter said, I'll die with you even. And he says, well, I don't want you to do that. And we got one sword, that's fine. But Peter's the one who speaks up. And he's the one who starts this one. And it's interesting, this particular explanation that Peter gives is very similar to Stephen's. But the result is quite different. I always thought that was interesting that Stephen gives his defense of what he believes, as Peter's about to do. And they kill Stephen. For you will go out with joy. Okay, so it's the same one here. So what points is Isaiah making when he says the hills, not the Jills, mountains will break into shouts of joy? And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. When the Pharisees and Sadducees, I think it was the Pharisees and Sadducees, or maybe it was just the Pharisees, when they said after Christ had come into Jerusalem, and they were putting down their robes and putting down the palms, and him coming in, what did they tell him? They said, don't let them make this big fuss over you. And what was his response?
Stones would holler.
Even the stones would cry out if I tried to do that. I think the point Isaiah is making here is all of creation is going to revel in the Christ and the salvation that's come to the earth. Everything is going to recognize it. Because if you look at what's in, I think it's Ephesians, first chapter, everything was created by him, through him, for him, both the visible and the invisible. When he was on the water on the Sea of Galilee and it was choppy, I mean, it was really bad choppy, okay? And they said, we're going to die. He says, peace. And the waters became still. He's in command of everything in the creation. And the creation is going to shout for joy, clap the hands. Salvation's here. The promise has been fulfilled. What desert is being transformed? Think spiritual. I'm not going to get to 56, Doug. I don't think. Until the Messiah came, who were the people that were benefiting most from God's grace? The Jews. Small little component. What was it like for the rest of the world spiritually? Was it like a desert? Did they have any living water they were drinking? No. It was a desert. A spiritual desert. And he says here, and the transformation of the desert. All these people who weren't God's people, they're going to be God's people. Goes almost back to that water cycle he talked about. Because the living waters come down to everyone, they're going to bloom. They're going to grow. Just like the plants that start to grow and they become beautiful. The people are going to begin to grow and become beautiful. It's not going to be a desert for them anymore. That's the point I think Isaiah is trying to make. 56. Not too many slides. We got 2 minutes. You want me to hold off on it?
With that evangelism map poster, another one we made, I think there used to be one out here.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing. You know, they've stepped in different ways, but it's how to introduce people to Christ, how people to grow in Christ. And the goal is that they grow more people, that they plant water. And Matt's sermons on Sunday, it's all on the same cycle.
When Paul was going around, what do we refer to him going to those different places like to Lystra and Derbe? What was he doing? He was planting churches. You see kind of the parallel in what they're talking about is he was planting churches. It was spiritually planting. And then some were watering. Some were weeding. And who was giving the growth? God. You can kind of see it all in here. So I'm going to stop on that one because I've got like 30 seconds left and let you pick up with 56.